interesting part of an artist's life, or can be, but not for all artists. So over the last year, I have occasionally submitted my work for places that have got open calls that I feel suit my work, or the call is appropriate for my type of work. And the most recent one that I submitted for have just released their first round of results, and I didn't get through. Always slightly upsetting. Anyone that says, oh, it doesn't matter either way, it does matter, otherwise I wouldn't have put the time and energy into it. But what I have come to realise is I loved my submission. It's behind me, we'll look at it in a minute. But it's interesting that the theme is there, but your take on it, like, how do you know what they're actually looking for? This is my take on the theme, which was the future of wild places and what we think about them. I didn't want to just paint a wild place or paint a piece of nature or an animal. You know, it seemed too obvious to me. I don't know what the ones that have got through look like, because it's just a list of winners. And I will look, because it's always fascinating to see what were those judges looking for. What, you know, I know when we watch programmes, they always say they're looking for that extra. It just hits them in the eye that that's the thing that they know. And I have no idea how you can create to that kind of demand, because you don't know what it is. So I think the upshot is I wanted to share this painting because I haven't been able to, and I truly love it. And then I'm going to pop it on the website, etc., because it's just adorable. But I think also I'm done. I make art for me. I make art for what drives me. The theory of this one drove me because it was about wild places. It was in Scotland. So, you know, that is to the heart of where I come from, I guess, which is why it's maybe a bit more disappointing that it didn't go through. The point being, I think I'm done with open calls and those sort of things. And I'll be looking at my own websites, my own sales, for the joy of creating ultimately. So the base of this painting was, for once for me, collage, which is quite unusual. I wanted to have different bits of wild spaces, greenery, footprints, hoof prints, all the things that kind of mean wild to me. So if we're getting close, there's some collage paper that I happen to have that seem to suit the occasion. But in here, there's part of some of the trail maps that you get in many of the woodlands around Scotland. Then there's just some kind of graph paper that came in that I quite enjoyed. Some flowery kind of bird print, duck print. Oh, there you go. There's the ducks, a bit more obvious up there. So some of the animals. I also drew on tissue paper some deer prints. Up here is a pheasant print kind of hidden in there. It's the whole point. You're not supposed to see everything. And then under the roots is, you know, is the same stuff going on. I think in here, I don't know if you can make it out, but there's some more prints there. I think they were probably hair prints that I drew on there. So the underneath is all collage, and then kind of, you know, painted over and blended in. So the idea for me was of the tree. So this is a classic kind of old Scots pine looking tree, which I adore in Scotland, and, you know, is part of our wildlife, is part of our nature. And then the roots, as quite often are portrayed in many artists' things, are about, you know, connecting everything to everywhere. The next phase for me was that this wasn't enough. So quite often I write, I don't know if they're proper haikus, but my own version of a haiku. I'm not a big poet, but it just adds for me into the meaning of the piece of what I'm trying to do. So it was to explore with no harm, to observe each other wild, to connect joyous. For me, the interpretation of those is literally about being able to walk through these wild places, not littering, not destroying, not disturbing, you know, being aware of nesting, etc. And just being in the space with everything else that's in the space. What moves us into the observe each other, but in the wild. Deer can look at me, I can look at them. We just gently move past and round each other, belonging to their space, belonging to our world. And then to feel that connection. You know, my art is absolutely inspired by the connection to all these wonderful wild places, and it brings me great joy whenever I'm out and about in these spaces. So that was my piece of work. As I say, for me, it absolutely gets me to where I want to be, and I'm going to pop it on the website and share the joy with everybody else. Before the words came. Finished piece. I love these words, really makes it. Pop on over to thecreativecaledonian.com to see more of this wonderful piece. Thank you, everyone.